A woman who's a former hoe is like, it's very wizard coded to me. It's very Gandalf.
The delusion.
Guys who try to expedite it and see you back to back to back or texting you nonstop in between are trying to create a sense of connection and closeness that can't happen unless there's time involved.
Did anyone else begin to just doze off? You think you and me will look good together? That is defamation of character. I'll take you to court. Ooh, she thinks she's being funny. But now let's zoom out for a minute. Let's zoom back and let's see her. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. The Jedediah Bila show, where anything can happen. I'm still getting used to the mic. I don't know. I was like, I really want a mic that's attached to the table. And now that it's here, I don't know if we've bonded. I don't know how I feel about it. So we'll see how that's going to go. Great show lined up for you today. But first, I have to show you a picture my son drew for me in preparation for this show. I don't know what it is. Doesn't matter. Picasso didn't explain his artwork, and Hartley won't either. Very colorful. So this will be adorning. Maybe I'll throw it on the set at some point. We'll just have Hartley decorate the background. He does have a way of drawing these people that look like very scary aliens. I don't have the heart to say, babe, that's wow. So maybe I'll just terrify you all in many different ways, including with my son's artwork. Quite the Picasso, just like me. Okay, so great show lined up for you today. We've got some columns, we've got some clips, we've got everything from some OnlyFans shenanigans to some TikToks. Some I've seen ahead of time, some I haven't, because I kind of like the element of surprise. Also, thank you so much. When we rolled out the show, the first 1,000 people that subscribed, man, you guys are the VIPs. You went right in there. You were like, I need to do this now. You made it happen. I see you. I see you. And just so you know, sometimes I am in the chat. I come in for a few minutes, cause massive upheaval, and then leave, much like I do in the rest of my life. So if you see me in there, it is me. It is me causing distress. All right. So before we start today, I just want to tell you today's show is brought to you by my friends over at The Swell Score. The Swell Score is an amazing site. Now, you all know how much I care about wellness products, how much I care about non-toxic living, low toxic living, trying to weed out all of the poisons in the environment, supplements, products. It's a forever job. It takes a ton of time, a ton of research. You got to get on the phone with people. You got to read ingredient lists. And even when you do that, sometimes the greenwashing is out there, right? They lie. You look, there's one hidden word at the end. It says fragrance. That's actually code for a zillion chemicals. So it's incredibly time consuming. The Swell Score came in and they decided to make things so much easier for you. What they did, and this is the brainchild of Gary Binkow, who's an amazing guy, and Christian Gonzalez, who does the somatic work, also an amazing guy. Both deeply care about wellness, deeply care about your health. They created a marketplace, a low-tox, non-tox marketplace with over 2,000 products. They're all ultra clean. They're all safe. They're vetted by a toxicologist. So you go on there, you order a product, and you don't have to do the research. We're busy people, right? Not everybody can take the time, and not everybody has time to research and know every single ingredient, what's toxic, what's not. They're doing the hard work for you. So you know when you order a product there, you're getting a quality product that's highly effective, that's been screened for toxins, job done. You can put them all in your cart, check out, and go spend some time in the great outdoors rather than be researching this stuff. Now, they have everything from supplements. They've got all the cool supplements. They've got home goods. In fact, I'm partnering with them on Naturepedic right now and some bedding and another product soon to come. They've got non-toxic beauty. They really have it all. So, and the best part is they have a membership program. If you join the membership program, you get 15 to 25% off of all the products. Do you know what kind of deal that is? This non-toxic stuff can get expensive. So not only are they making it easy for you to get access to it, but they're creating discounts for you. So what I want you to do is head over there to the Swell Score and go use my code, Jedediah20. Jedediah20, you're going to get 20% off your first order. It's an amazing hub. It's something that no one else is doing. And they have more really cool stuff I've talked about with them that's coming down the pike. The Swell Score is the place to be. Let's talk about some OnlyFans stuff because this is really important. This actually isn't meant to be a joke. I know people cover the OnlyFans stuff and they're like, oh. But this is an important message I have for you. So we have two articles here back to back. The first one says OnlyFans star Lily Phillips, 23 years old. So just absorb that for a second. 23 years old. Maybe you've heard of Lily Phillips. She's kind of famous in that world. She's now sleeping with elderly men in nursing homes for the latest sex stunt. Elderly men in nursing homes. Let's look at the article. It says controversial porn star Lily Phillips is now betting elderly men as part of her latest OnlyFans stunt. The 23-year-old recently hit up an American nursing home to meet one of her oldest fans, 82-year-old Steve. Donning nothing more than a miniskirt and a cardigan that showed off her cleavage, a beaming Lily posted for a selfie with the overjoyed geriatric. Come on, man. In a video shared to TikTok, she boasted about not only showing Steve a good time, but also 2 of his elderly friends too. Everyone, come on down. The adult performer, who controversially slept with 100 men in one night, said she was looking to bed her oldest fan and encouraged men in their 60s and 70s to message her. Okay, so you look at this and you say, wow, this is a seriously damaged individual, right? But, people say, let her do what she wants, right? And it's true. She has a right to live the life. She's an adult woman. She has the right to live the life that she wants to live. But the perception is by many, mostly, liberals, oh, she's just living her best life. She's an empowered woman. She's doing what she needs to do to be happy. Leave her alone. She's smiling. She's a happy girl just doing her thing. It's none of your business. Okay. Happy. All right. Let's go on over to the second article because I thought this was an interesting parallel. But these are both from the Daily Mail, by the way, which sometimes has good stories, and sometimes writes trash. They wrote an article about me once. It was all wrong. Whatever. Okay. Second article says heartbreaking moment. OnlyFans model breaks down in tears after betting 100 men in one day. Lily Phillips is now planning to bed 1,000 men in one day, which is interesting. It says she slept with 100 men in a single day and she broke down in tears after the sexcapade. She betted them back in October to create content for her OnlyFans page and also chronicled the experience in a documentary called I Slept with 100 Men in One Day. While she publicly portrayed the stunt in a positive light, the documentary reveals that Lily was an emotional wreck behind the scenes. Visibly sobbing, she told host Josh Peters, sometimes you just dissociate. It's not normal sex at all. She continued, in my head, I can think of 5, 6 guys, 10 guys that I remember, and that's it. It's just weird, isn't it? If I didn't have the videos, I wouldn't have known I'd done it. The young woman also admitted that she felt robotic on top of being racked with guilt that she wasn't giving all the men the experience they wanted. It's not for the weak girls, if I'm honest. It was hard. I don't know if I'd recommend it. It's a different feeling. It's just one in, out. It feels intense. Okay, so here she is crying hysterically, right? Because this is not natural. Can we all acknowledge this is not natural? This is a deeply damaging way for these women to live. Deeply, deeply damaging for a woman to behave like this. And they found this niche, right? These attractive girls have found this niche, OnlyFans, and they say, oh, OnlyFans, I'm going to go make my money and I'm not going to be tarnished by it at all. And they believe all the hype, right? Empowered woman. Oh, no skin off my back. Oh, I'm just behaving like one of the badly behaved men back in the day. Like, the jocks back in the day in those movies that were just, sleeping with a bunch of women. First of all, men and women are different. We process intimacy differently. Women, this is not natural behavior for a woman. And what you see is the truth unfolding behind the scenes where she's got a smile on and she's making her money. And behind the scenes, she's destroying her entire psyche because she's not able to do this and still have, a whole person be with her at the end of the day. Okay. So just people out there, I know it can be very appealing to make money in different ways, but this is how women get wrecked. I don't know a single woman, in fact, thinking about my entire life, I don't know a single woman who was able to forget about 100 guys. Forget about 1,000 guys. These numbers are off the charts, right? It's like almost unrelatable. You can't even imagine what that is. 100 people in one day. What are you even talking about? I can't even imagine 100 people in a lifetime, to be completely honest with you. But I know women who were promiscuous, and it wasn't 100 or 1,000, but it was still, a couple of different guys every couple of weeks. And every single one of them suffered inside. They would, where are these guys? Why are they not calling me back? They wanted more than just the physical act very often. And if they didn't want more, they felt like garbage when they came home. They felt empty. They felt alone. No one's there holding you. No one's making you feel like that experience was something. They felt empty. They were sitting scrolling. Destroyed, really. The behavior that they were told was empowering to them. Oh, it's empowering for women to behave like badly behaved men. Oh, it's empowering for women to behave like men. Oh, it's empowering for women to do X, Y, and Z. And they're all dying inside because it's not empowering. Because it doesn't feel good to be intimate with someone as a woman and have them not be there to hold you and tell you they love you and make you feel special. It's not. It's not rewarding. It's not empowering. Oftentimes you can't even have a good time because you're not trusting of the experience, so you're not open. And you walk away feeling like, used. Even if you understand the terms and it's all been laid out for you, it's not an experience that's fulfilling. It's an experience that feels degrading and gross. So why do you do it? Stop listening to the hype. Stop listening to the talking point of this is empowering and pay attention to how you feel. I once had a friend who was on the promiscuous side. I was working in a bar when I was younger. This is actually really funny. I used to work in a lounge in New York City. I got out of Columbia. I got my master's. I was like, and I'm going to talk about that too, because this whole female ambition and all that, let's really dig into that one day too, and what that means and why some women feel that way and what their lives and actually look like on the inside. Because I can tell you every woman that I worked with in television was drinking a ton of wine to get through the day, was miserable, was crabby, was feeling overstressed, every one of them. I didn't know one from the executive level on down that had that type of schedule that felt good. So I'm going to talk about that. And I know it's an untouchable female ambition. I'm going to talk about it because it needs to be talked about. But the bottom line is that women who engage in these activities, this promiscuity, repeatedly feel lost and they've bought the talking point. And I remember, I was saying about the bar. I remember working in a bar and I didn't drink, which was really funny. There I am in a bar. If I drank 2 sips of wine, I was drunk because I had no tolerance because I wasn't into alcohol. I didn't like the taste. Promiscuous girl, and she used to drink Baileys in her coffee on the way to work to just get through the morning. She was numb. She was completely numb on the inside because the promiscuity was just bleeding her dry. Her emotions, she had a blank stare a lot of the time. She was always worried about, she was taking a bunch of birth control concoctions with God knows what else. And at the end of the day, she was suffering. She was suffering, and she would spew the talking points of I'm empowered. Guys do it. You're not a guy. First of all, not all guys do it. Secondly, you're not a guy. And thirdly, you feel like crap. Stop doing it. Just pay attention to how you feel and ignore the hype.
What is the biggest red flag you've completely ignored?
When a man is too touchy too fast. When you first meet a guy and they start holding your hand, which is cute, but then they move to other places and it's that's a no-no. But it's so common these days that I just kind of brush it off, but it shouldn't be common. I was at a bar in Little Italy and this guy was really nice. He bought me a drink, and then immediately after we took a shot, he started making out with me. Just no questions asked. And I was like, okay, this is kind of what happens.
What was your reaction when this happened?
I was literally having a promising young woman moment. I was stiff as a board. I was not moving or responding at all. And he just kind of continued.
Okay, that's good. So in Little Italy is in New York City. It's actually adorable, but the Italian food is not very good. From an Italian, take my advice. Because it's touristy and all that. Okay, so again, I'm going to go back to, there's several points to make about this. Number one, she doesn't like him. I'm going to keep saying this point about not liking him because women, when they don't like you, when they're not attracted to you, have a whole different set of rules. And it really needs to be understood very clearly. Because if they do like you, they want you, coming onto them, the touch, the hands, all this, it becomes a different game. If they're not attracted to you, it feels invasive because they don't want it. Right? Okay. So first mistake, I believe that as women, we also need to take responsibility for the kind of dates we're getting involved in, right? So my advice to women, don't go on dates in bars where there's a ton of alcohol. Don't do it, right? Because she says, we had a drink and then we had a shot. Yeah, he's drunk. You're a little tipsy. He's a little tipsy. And now this is potentially a weird environment for a first date. Don't do first dates where there's alcohol involved. It can get uncomfortable. You don't know if you like them. You don't know anything about them. You don't know if they like you. You don't know how the alcohol is going to hit them. You don't know. It's a bad idea. It's a bad idea right from the start. I never, ever, 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 ever did first dates with alcohol. In fact, one time I went out with someone who was a cousin of a friend of mine. I was like 22 maybe. And we went to a Japanese restaurant and he drank an entire bottle of sake. I didn't have a sip. And he did something very similar to like coming in for a kiss. And I was like, I'm good, honey. Like nasty. Because no, that was just very unattractive for a man to be drunk and you're sitting there like, where's my, teriyaki chicken? Like, so a bad idea. Okay. And it's also really bad for you to be drinking. It's just drinking changes emotions, changes the energy. It's artificial, right? It's all artificial. That's number one. Number two, why are he comes at you to make out and you're stiff as a board and just going through it. Don't do that. Just if you're not interested, say, hey, listen, that's like a little too fast for me. I'm not interested. You're in a public place. It's well lit, I'm assuming. Just say that. Place your boundary down. Don't decide to go through the whole behavior and make out and be uncomfortable and then blame the guy when you haven't said this is uncomfortable for me. He may not know. You're out, you're drinking, you're taking part in this. He may not every guy has good radar. He may not get the vibe. You need to say it. You need to say, this is not for me. And the way that you say it from the start is when he suggests going for drinks on date one. You say, you know what? I'm not really into like drinking on the first date. Let's do something else. Like, let's go for a coffee or you set the boundary where he then knows, A, he's dealing with a certain type of woman, not one who's going to be doing shots and feeling all tipsy and God knows what, or maybe up for like a one night stand. That's not the girl. So if he's not looking for a girl like you, then that ends right there. Great. Saves everyone time. But if he is, he knows, okay, let me go. Let me have a conversation. Let me put different type of time in. Everybody knows what page they're on. It is a horrible idea to go drinking on a first date. And ladies, you can't expect a guy to always be a mind reader. They're not always picking up the signals, especially if alcohol is involved. Say it. Speak up. Say it. Okay. And she's from Georgia. She says later in the video, she seems shy. She seems like a nice girl. I get it. But you stand up for yourself or don't put yourself in a situation where there's alcohol and then suddenly you feel uncomfortable. It just doesn't need to go that way. And these are adult women. We need to take responsibility for the situations we put ourselves in. I'm not saying everything's going to be a woman's fault. Don't twist it. Those of you out there already sending the emails. Don't twist it. Don't twist it. I'm just saying we are all adults and we take responsibility for the situations we put ourselves in.
The biggest indicator that you're going to be manipulated by a man, if you aren't already being manipulated by him, is that he tries to expedite the process of connection and intimacy. What do I mean by this? So say you match on Hinge, he asks you out on a date, you go on the date, and then he immediately wants to see you in like a couple of days. And then you go on a second date, it's great, he wants to see you in a couple of days. And then the third date, you're already going to his. And you're like, okay, well, it's the third date, so that would be the natural progression. However, do you see what the problem here is? He's trying to expedite the process of you guys feeling close and intimate, which is built over a period of time. Think about all your closest friends. Did you become friends with them overnight? No, you were probably taking your time and getting to know them, met up maybe like once, maybe twice a week. You gave yourself and that friend space to decide how you feel about each other. Yeah, that's how relationships work. Guys who try to expedite it and see you back to back to back, or texting you nonstop in between, are trying to create a sense of connection and closeness that can't happen unless there's time involved. So they don't want to invest the time in actually getting to know you, but they want you to feel like you are close to them, which is manipulation.
Okay. Did anyone else begin to just doze off? Yeah. Okay. So this is what men can't win, right? Men can't win. Let's be honest. If he's texting you and he's interested in you and he's trying to say, hey, listen, let's do this, and that's bad. That's bad. But if he's not texting you and he's not saying he's interested in you, then that's bad too. Then you're like, oh, I went out with this guy and he had the audacity to not even be texting me. I feel so used. Oh, but then I went out with this guy and he texted me and then texted me 3 days later and doesn't he have anything else to do? Honey, make up your mind. Make up your mind. This is why men can't win. Duh. And she's lecturing. Oh, this is how a relationship goes. You have to take baby steps. No, there's no rule book. There's no rule book for how relationships go. That's not how it's supposed to be. This is not a game. It's not like, oh, listen, you text me, but then wait a week and then let's space it out. No, maybe he just likes you. I don't know why, but maybe he does. Maybe you had a nice date. Maybe he just likes you. And maybe he's like, hey, I want to see you again. That's bad. Again, you don't like him. You don't like him because if you did like him, you'd be sitting at the phone, waiting, scrolling, waiting for him to like that Instagram photo you put up. And if he didn't like it, going to his social media and seeing if he liked somebody else's picture. And then if he liked somebody else's picture, going to her page and seeing if they'd had any interactions. You know the game. You know the game. So just, ladies, do us all a favor and divide men into the ones you're attracted to and the ones you aren't, and the separate rule books you have for both, and just be transparent about it. That's all. Just be honest. And people say, well, why do you pick on the ladies? Listen, I am a woman, right? I am female. I get it. So I have a little bit of a deeper insight than maybe a guy does into the games. And I didn't play games. I wasn't that kind of girl. I wasn't a game player. If I didn't like you, I was like, ooh, I'm just not into it. Honest truth. People will tell you. Let them write in. If I went on a date with you and made you feel bad because I told you the truth, just write in. Bottom line is, there's a lot of games going on. We see it. Stop doing it. And the reason that I'm tough on women is because there are really good women out there and they're not playing the games. But these women who are playing the games are getting bigger and bigger in numbers. And I get emails all day long from nice girls who say, I am so tired of having to go out and like compete in the dating marketplace with these women that are either, spreading it for everybody and then complaining about it, or they're, talking about how men are toxic and basically training men to not be gentlemen anymore. And then I get a guy on a date who doesn't even offer to pay because he's afraid he's going to insult me. The good girls are tired of the bad girls and they're writing. And you know what they do when I say the content? They're like, yeah, because somebody needs to call it out. Somebody needs to call out the mind games. And I believe that women are in a unique position to call out women and men are in a unique position to call out men. And it just is. That's not to say I'm not going to call out men too. You've seen it. You've seen how I do it elsewhere. And I'll be doing it here too when it's appropriate. But some of these girls need a check. This isn't serving guys. It's not serving you. It's not serving the dating marketplace that you enter. It's not serving society at large. It ain't serving anybody. The biggest insult to me is when someone ugly hits on me. You think you and me will look good together? That is defamation of character. I'll take you to court. Ooh, she thinks she's being funny. But now let's zoom out for a minute. Let's zoom back. Let's see her. I'm not judgy about appearance, but okay. Listen. I'm not going to say nasty stuff here, but we all have to have an honest self-evaluation physically as well, right? And here's another problem that's happening in the marketplace. Women get so much attention, so much. And we're going to get to a tweet about that at some point. I don't know if I'm going to do it in this show or the next show. Sometimes we tape 2 shows in a row. Secret! Woohoo! Anyway, women get so much attention. And somebody wrote about how like women are getting a ton of attention if they're in the top 10%. No, honey, it's not the top 10%. It's like the top like 50%. Because you know what it is? They can glam it up. They can filter it online. You don't even look like you, right? You've got, by the time you're done with the they can put eyelashes on. The other day I was looking at filters on my phone, having a ball, by the way. And I'm looking and I'm like, oh my gosh, because I don't wear mascara. It irritates my eyes. And I'm like, I don't do I also don't go and say, I love this from the ladies too. I'm wearing no makeup. In the meantime, you got Botox, you got fillers, you got hair extensions in, and you got those fake like spider webs coming out of your eyes that are glued on. You didn't wear makeup, honey. You did something else, right? When I say I'm not wearing makeup, it's the naked face, right? Mama don't play with all that toxic, you know what. But they doll it up. They go on Instagram and they're like, no makeup. In the meantime, it's all that stuff. And then swipe right with a Paris filter and put I need some eyelashes. Let me put that on. So they go from like a 4 to like an 8. And then they get all the attention that an 8 would get. And they're like, I'm an 8. Maybe they're not an 8. And maybe that's, you have to have an honest sense of yourself too, because then when you go out into the marketplace and you've got guys who are 5s and 6s who are really nice guys, and maybe visually they're not the most handsome, but they're working hard and, they got something good going on, right? Not everybody is a supermodel. Let's just be honest. It just isn't. So, and you reject them because you have this false perception of what you look like, thinking you're, some supermodel because when you filter it up on Instagram, you get all the likes. What happens when you walk down the street? Not naked, honey. put on a high neck turtleneck and walk down the street and then let's see. No, really. And everybody can have confidence. I'm not, again, oh yeah, you don't want people to be confident. No, be confident. Just don't be, in some sort of utopia that doesn't exist where now guys need to meet this standard, right? You got to look like, who's a handsome guy? I don't know. George Clooney. Wow, I'm so old. You got to look like George Clooney though, right? You got to look like, I don't know, who's a handsome young guy. I don't know. I don't pay attention, but you got to look like this guy here in this ad, or I'm not. But you don't look like that girl in the ad, honey. So is that really fair? I'm just be honest, right? Just be honest, like an honest self-assessment. That's it. This is not to hurt feelings, right? She's not an unattractive girl, but is she at such a level that she's got to be like, oh, you don't look amazing. Like, I don't have time for you. Also, let me just say, if she was like a 10, also would be really unattractive coming from a 10. When a 10 knows they're a 10 and acts like they're a 10 and shoves it in your face that they're a 10 and it's like, I'm so good looking, I don't have time for you, they go to like a 4. Am I right, guys?
My issue is that I never want to look at a man ever again in my life or go on like another first date. But I also would like to be hopelessly in love.
Okay, now that's funny, right? You can say that's the dating experience, but how sad? Like, how sad that is the state of modern dating. And again, I think it's because everyone is so flooded. Like, think about how horrible it is to date now. When I was dating back in the day, it was like somebody called you. They said, hey, you want to hang out? You got excited. You got dressed up. You didn't have a million people in your phone texting you and and swipe right and swipe left and headache and stress and overstimulated and dopamine and rejection and just stalking his social media. And it wasn't that, it wasn't stressful. The most stressful part of the date was like what you were going to wear. And then if you got there and you didn't like them, you were kind of like, okay, that's it. Life was so much simpler, and simplicity, I think, favored female happiness so much more than this craziness. Women are getting super stressed out. And as a result, they're going into these dates, they're miserable. They don't want to be there. They don't know. They want the fairy tale. And let's also address that for a quick second. Because movies really, with women sometimes, it ruins us. It does. We watch the romantic movie. We watch The Notebook and we think we need the guy to say the line from The Notebook. I want you, all of you. You know it, and I know it because I also watched The Notebook and was like, I love him. Noah, he built the house for her. He's a hands-on kind of guy. He's got a little of that blue collar, but he also wrote her a letter every day saying how much he loved her. And then he said, I want all of you, even the bad parts, and had that whole monologue ready for her. He's fake, honey. Somebody wrote that character. He's fake. And now you're asking all those real guys out in the world to be this guy who somebody wrote his lines for him? And you're disappointed when he can't do it. Be honest. The movies don't serve women because we look and we think that's real life. Sometimes we're just like, that's real. You're in it, right? It's fake. He's fake. Come back to the real world, honey. Meet the real guys and don't have expectations on them that are unrealistic.
Here's another thing about men and women is that when you meet a man who's a former hoe, there's always a light air of melancholy about him, kind of like a former professional athlete where like you can tell that they sense their best days are behind them and they'll always be kind of wistful for it. Whereas when you meet a woman who's a former hoe, it very much gives like she took the last chopper out of Nam. Like she knew it was not getting better from there and she's glad to have gotten out when she did. Like a woman who's a former hoe is like, it's very wizard coded to me. It's very Gandalf. It's very like she's accumulated wisdom and collected them in her crystals. Whereas the man is very like former football player who's now commentating and you could tell would give anything to be back on that field for just one day.
The delusion. This is the female delusion. This is the brainwashing that has hit young women is so astounding to me. I mean, how that is completely false, number one. And who told you that? And notice they're all these women are like in their 20s and they're extremely knowledgeable about everything. They know everything, right? They know, they read it in Vogue, right? Online. So that's just not true. right? The idea that she paints it that a guy who's, been a player or whatever, they used to call him a player when I was younger. Jed, you're so old. Be quiet, youngins. Guy who's like a player has an air of melancholy about him because, his best days are over. I don't know a single guy, by the way, who had a past like that has an air of melancholy about them. Some of them might say, well, that wasn't really worth it. I shouldn't have done that. That was just a waste of my time. I wasted a lot of time. Most of them seem completely undamaged by it, to be completely honest with you. They do. They seem like, if anything, the regret is that they wasted that time with a bunch of girls that they didn't really like, and they could have been making money. They could have been working. But the pain and suffering is just not there in the vast, vast, vast majority of cases. It's just true, right? Maybe they have regret that they could have been, making six figures right now, and instead they were in a bar sleeping with a bunch of girls. But do you think they're suffering? I'm sorry, I haven't seen it. I just haven't. I haven't seen them walking around, honey, with an air of melancholy, as you so eloquently claim. It is not real. That's not true. And then she says that women who have done this are essentially, the way she categorizes them, women who have slept around are, in her view, like superheroes. They've accomplished something. They wear it like a badge of honor of experiences they've had. It's grown them. It's made them more mature. It's, in fact, potentially even made them a more valuable partner. Garbage. That is not true. I also have never met a woman who had a past like that wasn't damaged by it. Ever. Where there wasn't pain, where there wasn't hurt, where there wasn't suffering, where there wasn't feelings of rejection that then get passed on to the next relationship, where then you're looking at this guy and blaming him because where there weren't feelings of abandonment, where there wasn't alcohol, where there weren't antidepressants, where there wasn't some concoction to try to lift your spirits because your past of being treated like a temporary one-night fling made you feel like garbage and you didn't know how else to handle it. This is just, okay, men and women are different. I'm not advocating, by the way, for either women or men to be trashy and to sleep around with everyone. I'm not advocating for that for either sex. I don't think that's good for men. I don't think that's good for women. However, I firmly believe it is a more damaging internally act for women than it is for men. It just is, because we're wired differently. Our hormones are different. Our bodies are different. We're just wired to make babies. A man literally enters our body. It can be an invasive act. It's deeply personal in a different way. And I believe that we can get much more readily traumatized by a series of acts that mean nothing than a man can. Quote me on that. And if you're honest and you look around and you look at people and how they live and you look at men and women, you will also agree with me. And if you're dishonest and you feel like you need to be like, girl power, being, slutty is in, you're delusional and you're spreading, dare I say, misinformation. Don't you love that? Remember that word? Remember when everyone was spreading misinformation, only all the misinformation was actually true, right? All the conspiracy theorists won on that one, including me. Okay. Let's see. Let's go to 8. This is going to be our last clip for the day. Listen, y'all need to subscribe. Y'all need to hit that subscribe button. You need to hit your likes. You need to comment. You got to make it active, right? Because when you start a channel, I've done this once before, so I know a thing or two now. You need momentum. You need passion. So you got to subscribe and you got to tell your friends, listen, you want to follow a girl, lady, woman, geriatric woman, whatever you want to call me. I'm not easily insulted. Who's telling the truth? This is where you got to go. You got to spread the information, if you know what I mean.
I'm 28 years old. By all definitions, an adult woman. When I see adult women who are my age on television, I look at them and I say, yes, that is an adult woman. When I look at myself, I say, that's a child. The only time I ever feel like an adult woman is when I go and I get a full set, like I did today, which is what prompted this thought process. When do you start feeling like an actual grown-up? Is it ever going to happen? Or will I only ever view... sometimes it's literally women who are younger than me, and I'm like, adult woman, and I look at myself and I think, absolutely not. What is that?
Do you want me to tell you what it is? First of all, this happens on both sides. This happens to men and women, but I'm going to tell you, there's one thing in life that really, really grows you up. And it is not getting a full set of nails. And it is not, it's not related to anything you can do externally. You know what it is? It's having kids. It's having kids. Because when you have children, you suddenly become an adult. You have to think about somebody else. You have to be responsible in a different way. You can't be, sleep until whatever time. Suddenly your sleep schedule is on track. Your eating schedule is on track. You got to maximize your time. You got to care about another person in a different way. Like, you are responsible for another human being. It's different. And I often say people who, we have friends that don't have kids that are in like their 50s and they're like still like infantilized a little bit, right? They're like, sometimes they'll say they have a problem and it's like, you got a first world problem, right? You got all the time in the world. Come on, you took a nap today? You took a what? A nap? You ate 3 whole meals and you sat down and chewed them without, it's different when you have children. That is the moment. And I think also we infantilize people now, right? It used to be that you grew up young because you were getting married younger and you were having a family younger. So you became that adult in your early 20s at one point, mid 20s latest. Now you've got late 20s, 30s, late 30s, and you've got essentially a bunch of kids. I joke about this with a friend of mine all the time in New York. He's 48. He's single. And he's out and like, he doesn't drink. He's, but he goes out in the lounges or whatever. He'll go to karaoke or all this stuff. I'm like, what are you doing at karaoke at 48, doll? Come over here to my house and do karaoke with my kid. But he's out, he's doing the karaoke, and he has friends that are, late 30s, early 40s, mid 40s, and they're still doing the drinks. St. Patty's Day, everybody, let's go, the parade. I mean, I'm like, because they never grew up. And what would have grown, honestly, you just have to, it's just kids. And I'm not saying everybody needs to have kids. Some people can't have kids. Again, like, don't read judgment into everything because you're sensitive. Some of you, not all of you. And mostly not my viewers and listeners, but there's somebody out there that's like, well, what about me? I can't, I'm not talking about you. I'm saying in general. But in general, it's true. You have kids, you grow up. You don't have kids, you're on like a perpetual schedule of like a post-college, working man or woman. And sometimes you fall into the, it's nothing worse than seeing, I'm sorry. And I'm not saying don't have fun, but there's a way to have fun as an adult. Like, I remember going to a place, there used to be a bar called the Naked Lunch in New York City. I loved it because he used to play 80s music, 90s music. I would go when I was like in my 20s. There was an older guy there. He used to wear a beret. I think he was European. He had to be like 65. I'm not kidding. And he would be there all night dancing, drinking, partying it up with like young people in a way that you would look and you kind of felt bad for him. You just did, because it didn't look like a guy who was like having fun. It looked like a guy who was lonely and trying to like fit in with a life that wasn't making sense for him anymore. And, I get it. You got to live how you want to live. But I later found out that guy was miserable because I got to know him and he became friends with the owner of the bar. And it turns out that he was doing exactly what I thought he was doing. He wasn't just some guy. He didn't have a family he wished he had. There were a lot of regret, all this stuff going on. Right. But the bottom line is kids grow you up. People who have kids know the moment that they became an adult was the moment that they had a child. Just is. All right, everyone, hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button. I want you to head over also to jedediahbila.com, and I want you to submit your Q&As to the contact form there. It'll come to me. Well, it won't come directly to me, but it will get to me. Submit your questions on anything. Don't make it dirty because I can't answer that. You know what I'm saying? Some of you out there just like to push the envelope. Send some questions in. We're going to do a Q&A show in the mix. You can send it related to some of the content I've done. You can send it about anything, but don't be like, hey, I have this job. What do you think I should do? I can't just devote it. It's got to be something that applies to everybody. You know what I'm saying? Some of y'all are just too funny. Follow me on other social media. I'm out there on, Instagram, Facebook, everywhere, basically. And also check out my shop page, because for those of you interested in wellness, interested in products, I have everything from saunas, big purchases, to naturopedic partnership with a Swell Score, to grounding shoes, to tallow skincare. Also got a lot of questions from the ladies because I put a post out saying I don't do the show with makeup. Not into makeup. I'm tan. because I'm in Texas, honey. But also, I don't dye my hair. I don't do any of that stuff. But I do use tallow blush, and that I put here, here, and here, and that's how you see me. So go check that out. The company is Stone and Spear. There's a whole bunch of really cool stuff on the shop page, so check that out. And I will see you next show. Have fun. Behave. See you soon.